we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you listening and watching all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get our podcast. Plus, if you can share, subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live with the latest PCC Multiverse, Pop Culture Cosmos. Also, as well, you can go ahead and check us out for, of course, the state of pro wrestling. John Orlando hit me up today, said, Gerald, we need to talk the best of in pro wrestling next week. So we will go ahead and do that. Plus, also, as well, Inside Sports Fantasy Football right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos YouTube channel. So please go ahead and subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live with the latest Pop Culture Cosmos, PC Multiverse. And also check out our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page because I post the latest news and trailers in the world of pop culture. And my gosh, there's more news going on than I thought would go on the week before Christmas. And it goes on the Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook Indeed or popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is the mistress of all the radio airwaves in Canada and the US and beyond. It is a good friend indeed. It is, of course, the mastermind behind much of what she and her husband, Robbie Ross, do at Vampires and Vitae. Right there for you on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts or Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Wizards and Wine, yada, 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 blah, 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 all the other stuff that she does, which she can always go ahead and pitch to you at any point in time because the list, it's like Santa's list. It keeps growing and getting longer and longer each time. It is my good friend, Miss Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, great to have you back, my friend. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better. All ready to gloat and rub it in my face in regards to a certain announcement that was made or discovery that was made on the year so far in video game sales?
Yep. Oops. Ha.
See, that's her. Give me a maniacal laugh. A maniacal laugh would be so much better and so much more apropos right now.
I am sorry for the crushing blow that has happened to you and yours in terms of video game supremacy.
Well, we'll find out what that is here in a bit so she can get the full-on gloat coming up here in a minute. Also, as well, we're going to be talking about what Marvel is going to do because of a major announcement that they made and a major court decision that was made in regard to Jonathan Majors. So we'll talk about that as well, plus a whole ton of stuff. Warner Brothers, Paramount, all these movies going on, Insomniac and Sony. My gosh, the whole thing is going on right now in pop culture, and we're glad that we're covering for you here on the Pop Culture Gospel. Well, let's get into it right now. Starting off with the fact it is a few days before Christmas. It is the major release time for movies to come out before the Christmas season because in order to be eligible for the Oscars, you have to go ahead and premiere it in New York or Los Angeles, before Christmas Day. And a lot of movies are doing that. Melinda, you've got a ton of movies to go ahead, including a sequel to one of the biggest DC movies of all time.
Yeah.
Bro, great to have you here. Your game is in halftime. I hope you're enjoying the Rams, but it is, of course, Aquaman. We'll start off with that right there. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which debuts actually right now as we're saying this on Thursday night. $1 billion movie the first time around. The reviews have not been kind, my friend. Your thoughts on the sequel for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Is this, as we've seen before in the DC movies this past year, lame duck on arrival?
I'm feeling like that's the case. And I think a lot of it has to do with it kind of being touched by the Heard Depp trial. With Momoa kind of being brought into the trial a little bit. And when she talked about, she felt that it was, there was something somehow, the powers that be decided to diminish her role, and it was all because of what was going on in her private life and all of that kind of stuff. I just feel like all of that has now layered itself like an oil over Aquaman 2, and I don't think it matters really if it's a good movie or not. I feel like there's a taint on it, and I feel like that's enough to turn people off of it, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, indeed, my friend, it does
Yeah.
not look like it's going to have that kind of mojo the second time around, because there's already a universe behind it that this movie may or may not be a part of. And already in the fact that Jason Momoa, like you said, is going to be playing Lobo
Yeah.
in this new James Gunn universe. Who knows what his hey dude bro surfer dude Aquaman future is. I actually kind of liked it personally. I
Yeah.
thought it was really enjoyable to me. I know some others kind of just, did not like it at all, but you know what? I don't think it spells very good, because we've seen all year long DC movies, Flash, Blue Beetle, Shazam, and then Black Adam before that,
Yeah.
all not. They basically underwhelmed, and some cases outright tanked at the box office. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be a lame duck on arrival movie as well, unfortunately, and that's supposed to be your big release. But your thoughts, my friend, before we head on to some of the other movies coming out this weekend.
Well, I just go back to when the trailer dropped, even the teaser trailer for the first Aquaman movie. And there was that one line, permission to come aboard or whatever that was. That was quoted, far and wide. I felt like maybe it was just me and my friends being dorks. I don't know. But, there's just not that kind of like immediate pop culture kind of reference moment coming out of that trailer. So that I don't think is helping the movie kind of sell itself to audiences either. So that could be a thing. Maybe our expectations were just so high after the first Aquaman movie. I'm not sure, but I just don't see this one making as much of a splash. Mm. As
Oh, you went to the
as
Josh Peterson School of Puns. It sounds like it
right?
graduated very nicely. There you
Yeah.
go.
I'm coming after the crown, Josh. I'm coming
Yeah,
after the
I'll
crown.
let him know that. I'll let him know on the Monday show. Absolutely. Will say
Uh,
though, it is Aquaman right there for you, and the Lost Kingdom, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, coming out this weekend. Also in wide release by Sony Pictures. Very curious. Anyone but you. This has gotten a little bit of hype because of the chemistry off screen and on screen Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney have had. A lot of people wanted to put them together in real life, but they've got other individuals that they have in real life. So sorry, everyone. But as far as the movie itself, I guess okay reviews from what I'm seeing. Not too shabby, not horrible per se. It's not on any worst 10 list, but not any best 10 list either. But the fact that you would put a non-holiday romantic comedy on now, when holiday romantic comedies are usually the thing, at least on streaming and cable outlets and whatnot. I just found it I don't know. They're sending this movie out to die. When it had such a decent word of mouth going into it.
yeah, it really could have waited a couple of more weeks, I think. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but in my immediate memory, I don't recall a romantic comedy movie ever being nominated for an Oscar. So I don't think that's part of the rub. We know that movies are kind of going to be limited next year because of what was happening with the actor strike and the writer strike this year. So it just feels like a solid movie that could have even kicked off,
Like in February,
yeah,
like right
it,
around the time just before Dune Part 2. This would have been a good Valentine's Day flick, I think.
perfect for that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the time of year where, there is a demographic that has been watching romantic holiday movies since Halloween. And they are not going to leave the house to go see a non holiday romantic movie at this point because, the best ones come on right before Christmas. So
Yeah.
I've been told. So
So you've been told.
so I've been told.
So you've been told. Again, it just seems to me, because this did have some buzz going
Yeah.
into it, and I just
Yeah.
don't understand why they released it now. I thought it was very ill-timed, especially with all the other high-profile Oscar wannabe movies that are also coming into fray as far as that's concerned. And we're going to go ahead and give you a list right now of all these movies are vying for some Oscar consideration. So let me give you a list of what's coming up here in just a second. It starts off with me, a movie that I hopefully will get a chance to see before I meet up with John Orlando, is The Iron Claw, based on the actual life story of the Von Erich family. Again, going into it, I'm going to leave my mind open. There's some things I already seen that I'm not liking about it, but I'm going to go ahead and keep my mind open because the reviews, for the most part, have been really solid. So I think, and actually, it has been considered in, as far as a top 20 movie of the year in a lot of circles. So definitely, we'll see if we can give that a chance. Migration, Solar Part 1, Ceasefire. American Fiction is another movie that is going to get some strong consideration here in the Oscars. And Poor Things, which with Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo,
Yeah.
also is going to get some huge consideration, especially if you're fans with a favorite and the Lobster. Yorgos, the director, has just been doing those kind of weird offbeat movies. So if you're into that, this could be something where it's be considered as one of the best movies of the year. Also, American Fiction as well with Jeffrey Wright, definitely something that you want to look into. The Holdovers came out earlier. That's something that's also with Paul Giamatti. That's something that a lot of people have been looking into as well, as far as a top tier movie. So all these movies now, Melinda, are now out in the theater that are really vying for your attention, but also vying for the Oscar voters' attention for the Oscars late next year.
Didn't we just go through a really dry period at the theater where there just wasn't a whole lot happening?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
So
they
what?
they put them out now though, or in and around late November, December, to get eyes from the voters. They don't necessarily care about you as the
Yeah.
consumer. Be nice if they got extra cash from it, but they're thinking that they're going to cash in the more Oscar nominations that they get.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I guess you're right. Maybe all these movies coming out aren't meant for public, they're meant for voters. Maybe you're right. You're not maybe. You're probably right on that. So, I guess that makes a little bit more sense, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen the Mark Ruffalo movie come out, a couple of weeks ago.
Agreed.
I think that would have been a great movie even to bring out early November, just kind of post Halloween, where everybody is still a little bit spooky, but we're also excited about having glitter everywhere and Christmas trees in our houses. It just might have been a nice, like, kind of transition movie. It just feels like that kind of a movie to me from what I've seen of it. So I don't know. It's interesting that they just let all of those great movies kind of all stack up there at once. It's
Yeah,
wild.
exactly. And
Yeah.
they do it every year too. So they almost cannibalize themselves and almost like
Mm.
give up on this, limited run, because most of them are just like limited theaters as far as quantity theater count or whatnot. And some of them will get a later release in January and February. But the thing is, by that time, they'll already have gotten buzz, but people will already be waiting for them in the streaming outlets. And if they don't get the Oscar picks, or they don't get the Golden Globe noms, or they don't get enough noms, they're just going to be thought of, oh yeah, it was a good movie up at awards time, but not much more than that.
Yeah. And that's too bad. At least let a movie, contend for, being a little bit of a cash cow. You never know.
So I ask you, my friend, is there anything that stands out for you as far as this weekend, as far as the movie theaters, or are you looking to go ahead and check out some things on Netflix? Because that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a Netflix situation for me. I have to wish me luck. I have to go to the grocery store tomorrow morning to get my
Good
Christmas
luck.
groceries. Yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a scene. After that, I don't intend to leave my house until the 27th at the earliest, and only if I have to. So
I'll
it's a
tell you what, though.
Netflix situation for
It
me.
is a Netflix situation. Well,
Yeah.
Netflix, you did see The World Ends with You. Or is it
Yes.
yes, I saw that again. I spoke to Don Fobbs about that recently as well. I'm not exactly hating it. I didn't exactly love it. I just thought with that kind of cast, could have been better suited for something a little bit more. Sound like they looked like they shot it in a weekend at someone's house, or in and around someone's house, and that was it. But again, I don't hold much stock into it per se. These Netflix films, some of them really don't look like they put much out of it. They try to keep the control of costs, and they just, have them quickly shoot it over the course of a very quick amount of time in a small area. Like I've seen some the Ryan Reynolds movie last year reminded me of that as far as it's concerned.
Yeah.
But Netflix also has gone out of their way for some other movies that have come out. In fact, yesterday I did get a chance to see Maestro. And I will say Maestro was a pretty good movie for me. I'm not sure yet if it'll be on my best of list. I'm going to have to think long and hard on that one. But Carey Mulligan's performance is the best of for 2023. Bradley Cooper's okay. He's good as Leonard Bernstein, but it is Carey Mulligan's movie, and she steals the show, and she will definitely be up for some Oscar noms or other acting nominations coming up here in the not too distant future because she really steals the show. And that's part I enjoyed on it. So your thoughts on Maestro, and we'll go ahead before we even get into what Zack Snyder's doing on Netflix here in just a few minutes.
Maestro, it came down to that actually last night. It was Maestro versus the Julia Roberts movie. Sorry, I can't remember the name of it. I want to say
I think you picked wrong, but that's
the day the world, I don't know, the day the world went away, or the day the world ended, or
I'm gonna
something about leave the world behind. Leave the world behind. Anyway,
it's actually Leave the World Behind.
There it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the world.
Yeah, right. It came down to Maestro or that movie last night, and we decided to go with the Julia Roberts movie because, well, Julia Roberts, right? And when I tell you that we finished the movie and had no idea what we had just watched, that's being generous about the movie. Before we went to air, Robbie and I have had very in-depth discussions at this point about whether or not we believe the script was written by AI. Just because of how disjointed everything seems in the movie. There's no why about it. I don't know. It just all seems very cliched. It seems, it's hard to explain. Watch it and tell me if you think that it's possible that it was written by AI or if AI was involved in it somewhere. I know it's based on a book.
Adapted the screenplay because it is a book.
Yeah, I understand that it was a book, but yeah, in terms of adapting the screenplay, because it just feels like you have the little girl with the deer that feels Disney princess inspired to me. You have the mom who drinks too much and hates everybody. That feels stereotypical to me. You have just the good guy dad who's not good with a GPS or a map, or without his GPS, he feels useless. That felt stereotypical to me. There's just a lot of stuff in the movie that I can't even explain it. It just feels like they took a whole bunch of stuff and they just kind of stuck it all together and they made it into a ball and then decided to make it a movie. I'm going to have to read the book because I hope that it's a case of the movie doesn't do the book justice because it didn't answer any questions. I still don't have any idea what happened in the movie.
I'll tell you off screen, basically.
Okay. All right.
Yes. But it is Julia Roberts' latest movie. In fact, I did discuss it with Don Fobbs, Leave the World Behind. I have not heard one glowing review yet from it. We're not really poo-pooing it, but it's just there.
It's odd. It's just so odd. There's no other way to put it.
It's kind of disappointing. You have such a high level cast. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Coming out swinging, those actors. And you're halfway through it and you're just like, what? I asked Robbie like 20 times through the movie. I was like, what? What?
But it is Maestro. Yeah, it is Maestro and Leaving the World Behind, my friend. But here in about less than 10 minutes, as we're on the air right now, as it's being recorded, is the availability of Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's latest, adventure. This is a sci-fi epic, something he actually, had the original concept of in college as, something that he was brought up to him as far as a possible idea that he helped create, and as far as in college. He also kind of pitched it in a way to Lucasfilm over the years as a Star Wars movie, but was rejected for that. So Netflix, seeing his great success from his other Netflix ventures, decided to go ahead and bring him in on this to create a sci-fi epic adventure. I will have a review for on the Monday show. Your thoughts on any excitement for a new sci-fi epic adventure in Rebel Moon, my friend?
If you put the words sci-fi epic adventure together in a sentence, you have my attention. So if we don't watch it tonight, it will probably be what we watch tomorrow. And we'll probably watch it again on Christmas Day.
There you go. Indeed. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Rebel Moon does. Obviously, it has to perform very well. In fact, as much as you and I kind of like blah or blasé on Leave the World Behind, the
Yeah.
fact that it still at times reached number one, and it was number one yesterday when I checked, almost 3 weeks after it originally got released on Netflix, is actually pretty good. Rebel Moon is going to need that kind of holdover in order to justify its existence, especially for a sequel or a part two that's coming up for it, because this was a part one. So we'll see what happens there, my friend. But yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what Rebel Moon is going to do upcoming. And I will go ahead and have a full review of that on the Monday show with Josh Peterson as well. But my friend, before we head to the half-hour break, I also wanted to go ahead and mention as well the I guess what's going on with Marvel's What If, because that drops this weekend as well for 9 straight days. Season 2 will drop a new episode for 9 straight days, which is pretty good under normal circumstances. But right now, as we'll explain to you with Jonathan Majors, it may not be under the best of circumstances with Marvel's What If Season 2.
Yeah. This is one of those situations where we've been saying, Disney, like, we need content all the time. Give me a reason to come back to your platform. So, you've got, What If, and the last season, was hit or miss with fans, from the way that I
Percy
understand, the way that I
Jackson just
remember it.
came out
Hmm.
to pretty good reviews, and
Yeah.
as a younger audience show, it's actually been doing pretty well for the channel.
Well, why wouldn't you take this over the next 9 weeks and drop one episode a week?
Well, they
And
are
then
with
have,
what talking about What If? Yes, Marvel's
yeah,
What If.
yeah. And then you have, this is the conversation I feel like we are constantly having about Disney Plus.
Then they're going to do the
Um,
same thing with Echo, where they're dropping all 5 episodes at once. They're just saying it, they're doing the Netflix thing where they're saying,
yeah.
okay, here you go,
Mm,
goodbye. I just don't think
yeah.
it works for them. I just think that them trying to emulate Netflix is not a good move. And I agree with you. Putting this out over the next 9 days may not bode well for Marvel's What If Season 2.
But you know what? Maybe it is the right strategy, or maybe release all 9 at once so you can just binge watch it all on Christmas Day when you're trying to avoid the family. I don't know, but it just feels, I don't know. It feels lazy, I guess, in a way, to me, for Disney to do it that way.
Yeah, it does. Like they're just trying to get it out before the end of the year.
Yeah, like, just, okay, here we go. We'll just put it out now, and then we're ready to start fresh 2024. It feels like that kind of conversation happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, my friend. And then it's just something where you're going to see a new episode each and every day starting on the 22nd. One thing I do want to ask you, though, things in the Marvel world are going to shift dramatically due to the court decision this week in regards to Jonathan Majors and his, I guess, assault that he was actually one of the 4 charges was he convicted of, I think, going forward, or 2 other charges he was convicted going forward.
I think it was one, but
That's one. Yes.
let's quick
I'm
look up
looking at it
for
right
that.
now. As
Okay.
far as the sentencing is going to be done on February the 6th but he was pronounced guilty of some of the charges,
Mm.
including it's an assault and a harassment as far as charges that were brought up, and one, he was convicted of misdemeanor assault in the 3rd degree, recklessly causing physical injury, as well as harassment in the 2nd degree, which is violation. So sentencing will be done in February. That's there. But yes, Marvel immediately, within minutes, fired him. And he will no longer be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, I mean,
You did have some when we DM'd each other, I will say.
yeah, well, I mean, in our conversation, it really was about, because I know that there are people who did not enjoy him as Kang in anything that he's played the role in so far for Marvel, or will play, I suppose, at this point. But there was something to me about him where I felt like he understood this character that was supposed to be bigger than the universe. You know what I mean? I felt like I felt like he was phenomenal in the role. I thought he was so good. I thought he was terrifying because you didn't understand if he was being benevolent, if he had ulterior motives. It you just you just couldn't get a good read on the character, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. So I am very sad that he has been let go from Marvel. I'm also
But it
very
is
sad.
it's justified. And do you think it's justified?
Yeah, at
I
this
think it is.
point, I mean, yeah, there's a conviction, and the courts have made their decisions and stuff like that. So at this point, I feel like my opinion of that is moot, and it comes down to what the what the studios are interested in doing and having as part of their projects. The when you take this situation though and you put it up against the Ezra Miller situation, I don't understand it. I don't understand.
Mhm.
I just don't get it. And we know what's been going on with Ezra Miller, and I I don't understand how there's still a job and then there's a loss of a job. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think both have done some really egregious things, and I think in the case of Jonathan Majors, and it was justified by Disney doing what it did, but I also think that with Ezra Miller, not enough has been done in his situation as well. We
You
talked
mean,
about this. We just talked about this before,
oh,
leading into the
yeah,
Flash. We thought he should not be in the Flash. They should have recast the Flash. Well, they had
yeah.
a Flash on TV who I thought he was pretty good, and they
Yeah,
should have recast.
they should have just let that kid roll with it. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I can't remember the actor's name, and I know he's a man. I
Barry.
don't mean to call him a kid, but that's the
Um,
character's name.
yeah, that's right. Sorry, that's Barry. I'm like, Billy. No, but yes. Um, when it comes to the Flash TV show, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned, yeah. So Grant Gustin.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
he's
yes.
he's fantastic. He's great, and I honestly I just think that the role should have gone to at that actor in the first place. Really,
Yeah. So I think
um,
both should have been. Only one has been dealt with properly, and I think
yeah,
Marvel did, and unfortunately DC, it's still
yeah,
quite a mess.
yeah.
Yeah, DC is gonna, and we're gonna see more of the mess this weekend with Aquaman.
Yeah, wolf. But yeah, no, the Jonathan Majors loss for Marvel is a pretty significant one to me as a fan of Marvel. I just really enjoyed what he brought to that character. So, I'm very sorry for the situation that he has found himself in, and I hope that everybody can heal, and I hope that everybody can move on, and maybe one day we'll manage to get him back. I don't know.
Would that be the case? The way our society works, and right now, as far as it's concerned, once you have that, it's really hard to overcome something like that in regards to restoring a reputation after something such as egregious such as that.
Yeah, but it's not impossible.
No, I didn't say it was
It's really
impossible, but it's really
no,
hard.
it is very hard, and I don't know. There's just I'm in a very strange, odd way, and perhaps it's because I have a sense of likability for him for the way that I saw him play a character. Maybe I have that level. Maybe I have a little bit of bias there, where I do hope that there is a bit of a comeback for him. I think he's a very talented actor, and I just think that it's all very. I'm going to use the word unfortunate, and I know that that is underselling it, and I don't mean to. But it's just too bad when you see people who are struggling with things that are potentially bigger than they are. Is all that I'm going to say about it.
What are your thoughts out there on what's going on with Jonathan Majors and the final decision that was made in regards to the MCU and Marvel firing Jonathan Majors after his conviction on assault and harassment charges? Plus, also as well, do you think the same should apply for DC and Ezra Miller? Although that may have done himself in with the performance of the Flash in and of itself, anyways. So,
Mm.
want to hear your thoughts on that. Plus, also as well, your thoughts. Are you checking out what at the movie theaters or on Netflix this weekend? It's going to be a huge weekend for entertainment. Will it pay off in some dollars? We'll go ahead and report on Monday. But if you're checking out anything either at the theaters or on streaming, whether it's What If Season 2, Maestro, Leave the World Behind, Rebel Moon, or let's go ahead and talk about Aquaman 2, Poor Things, The Iron Claw, and more. Holdovers. My gosh, so much entertainment that you can check out. Please let us know what you're doing and what you're checking out this weekend in pop culture. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1 half hour down, 1 half hour to go here on the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Before we continue, I want to go ahead and give a big shout out to one of our longest running stations, the Jubilee radio station. Just absolutely have enjoyed sending them our shows over the years. I want to go ahead and thank them for everything that they've done for us. But Jubilee Hospital Radio is leaving us after the beginning of the year. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we make a note to thank their listeners, their committee, and of course, the management of Jubilee Hospital Radio for all that they've done for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So thanks to you and wishing you and yours a happy holidays out there. So truly appreciate it. But getting back into what we're doing here at the PCC Multiverse, my friend, it is time. It is time for you to go ahead with a Cheshire cat grin or an evil maniacal laugh, whatever you decide to go ahead and put on to your wonderful heart's content, to go ahead and rub it in my face. You said, no, I don't want to do that, Gerald. Give me a break, Melinda. I've talked to Robbie on more than one occasion.
Yes.
I remember I played with you Dungeons and Dragons for 2
Yep.
years.
That's true.
I know how Maddie rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, right through a door. Need we talk about going through a door at this time of, as far as that's concerned.
Well,
So
I mean,
we know how
I
it
could
rolls.
go. I could go through 3 doors to your 1. So
That you
that's
could.
yeah.
With the right roll, yes, you could. That's for sure. But be that as it may, I do want to go ahead and let you know that the news came out this past week in regards to some information, and that Sony, it looks like for this year, as far as the way the PlayStation 5s are selling, will have outsold the Xbox Series S and X, and that is the S and X, with the S as the majority in the clubhouse leader between those two. But the S and the X combined outsold them in North America or in the US, what have you, by a 3-1 margin this year. So go ahead.
3-1.
3-1. And it is now back on track to pass up the PlayStation 4 as far as probably the biggest and actually one of the largest selling consoles of all time. But it is on pace right now ahead of PlayStation 4. It wasn't at the beginning of the year because of COVID and all the shipping problems and all that. But it is now once again started to go ahead and outpace the PlayStation 4. So your thoughts, my friend, on the success of PlayStation and PlayStation 5 this year? I give you the floor.
I don't really need the floor though, Gerald. It's just I tell
gloat,
you,
women, gloat.
I don't like the Xbox. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I can't put my finger on it. There's probably not even really a reason to it. I've probably just gotten a PlayStation and gotten used to using the PlayStation. But the idea that for how many months now, every time I bring up PS5, you're like, yeah, but the cost, it's so high, the cost. But what about the cost, Melinda? But what about the cost? And I'm like,
okay, well, when we were talking about what you may be getting for
matter?
Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Christmas gift.
Yeah.
What did we say first off? The cost.
I know. But no, it all joking aside, Gerald, I am thrilled that my preferred gaming system has come out on top this year.
Okay.
I am thrilled with it. No, I know that the cost of it is prohibitive for a lot of people, but somehow folks are managing to, save up that extra couple $100 and whack that down on the counter at Best Buy and say, give me my PlayStation.
But there's got to be other reasons than just it's a PlayStation. I know the reasons why, but there are reasons why aesthetically PlayStation is outdistancing Xbox, and deservedly so, based off of what we've seen with software up to this point in this generation. Xbox is, I'm going to go on a big rant on the Monday show with Josh. Sure. I promised him that. Yeah. I told him that, but you've got to agree. You and I both will agree that on the surface up to this point, Sony has had a clear advantage when it comes to software and its presentation of its software in this generation.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know now that there's one under my Christmas. I still don't know. And I had to it's wrapped in the Amazon box because I couldn't trust myself to open the Amazon box and take it out and not plug it into my television. But I still feel one of the reasons why I'm PlayStation and not Xbox is because I find those Xbox controllers too big for my hands. I have short little stumpy fingers. I got tiny hands. So now though the PlayStation controllers look an awful lot like the Xbox controllers, so I'm a little bit concerned about that for myself. But then I had a friend of mine from LARP who say, you can get custom controllers made. So now that might be a thing that I look into. Wouldn't that be incredible? Then I couldn't blame it. Then I just couldn't blame it on the reach of my thumb anymore, though. So that might take out some of my. Well, it's not my fault. The controllers are too big, but. No, the bottom line is I think a good system is a good system. And I think that people are going to be drawn to the things that they see the most often. I think they're going to be drawn to the things that they see working the best and the things that they seem to hear the most hoopla about. And for good or for bad, I feel like PlayStation kind of was in headlines a lot this year, maybe a little bit more so than Xbox. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Again, for the Xbox, it has to turn around now. It has to turn around with the announcement of what they won with the Activision sale. I think that is going to, it's either now or never. So if that does not kick off more interest in the Xbox, I don't know what will. Starfield did amazing for them initially. It had over 10 million players right off the bat. That's obviously one of their biggest successes in a long time. Didn't grade out as well as they had hoped, but still a pretty good experience for what it is. Diablo 4, something that, a lot of people have been very high upon. Now that's in the stable of Xbox. Who knows if that goes to Games Pass here in the not too distant future, that could be a big win for them. And then, of course, Call of Duties, we know about the future. We know, and that's one of the things that happened this week. Unfortunately, a lot more about what goes on behind Sony scenes in regards to some real stuff, in regards to what happened with an Insomniac leak. Insomniac Studios, the makers of the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 video games, one of the best, actually the best first-party selling game of this generation is Spider-Man 2. And while we could always talk about and compliment the highs of Spider-Man 2, but some of that is not only based off the good reviews, some of that is based off the demand for the first, after the first game did so well, but also some of that is because they packaged it in on, the current PlayStation 5, you go to the store, it's packaged it in, and that they're bundling right now at $500, which is a pretty good price for it. But be that as it may, earlier this week, hackers who had been actually took out information last week and got a whole bunch of information about almost 2 terabytes full of information and ransomed it off and said if they didn't get a certain amount of money in Bitcoins, they were going to go ahead and release it out to the public. Well, they released the majority of it out to the public this past week. Shed a lot of light on what Insomniac and Sony are up to, as far as also some interesting things like an X-Men exclusivity till halfway through the next decade, as far as X-Men games coming exclusively to Sony. Also, as well, some information on the upcoming Wolverine game, things of that nature. But then that's also when it came out as far as the number of, as far as what was sold, the number of how much Sony is outselling Sony's outselling Microsoft at this point in time. So all that said and done, it was a terrible situation as far as the Insomniac leak because it also included HR files to Insomniac staff. And that's something that you don't want to see happen. But yeah, these type of leaks are not good at any point in time. But unfortunately, you have to go ahead and report the news when it comes out like that. But yes, the Insomniac leak hopefully will be isolated, but I have a feeling it's not going to be, my friend.
Yeah. And, wow. Let me try to get one thought together and have that come out of my mouth hole. Okay. So we know a little bit in Las Vegas here after what happened. I think it was in the fall or late summer when the casinos got hacked. And there was like an entire floor, wasn't there, of one of the casinos that wasn't able to play because of the same kind of, attack. It was a ransomware thing. And now like the FBI has gotten involved and they've got new stuff. Anyway, I don't really understand it all. a little bit over my head, but it'll be interesting. And I don't understand why of anything like a Sony or Microsoft won't have that kind of protection on their stuff moving forward.
Yeah, it just again, it's going to happen. They're gonna go ahead and break into more studios, or break into more
Yeah.
television studios, or break into more other well-known properties, and just keep on trying to steal and trying to ransom it out. And it's an unfortunate situation, because this is stuff that they weren't supposed to let the public know, as far as release dates, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And they'll have to change that all around. A storyline, also early shots and early footage of the Wolverine game that, again, it's just early in development, alpha footage. So people are, oh, it looks like crap. It looks like junk. It looks like da da da. It's like, okay, wait, calm down. It's just at an early stage. So please let it play itself out before you go ahead and judge it. I think it's just, again, just a very unfortunate situation. And it allows for, more opportunity to see what happens with more of these hackers going in and stealing all this information, which is very unfortunate for, I think, the hard work that these studios put themselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention now the employee who just has their HR file out there. you know, that's incredibly uncool.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you,
Yeah.
my friend. But getting back to the lighter side before we head to the break, and that is
Hmm.
Sony outselling 3-1. Do you think next year, I think when the lineup starts to get a little bit more robust for Xbox, it might be a little bit of a closer race, but do you expect a 3-1 difference next year in 2024 in the US for PlayStation?
Do you really think that it can keep that pace up?
I don't think so, because the fact is,
Right?
not only Xbox will come out with better software and become more appealing to the consumer. I think
Sure.
they've got to go on the run now. They have the desperation has to start now from Xbox, and the stuff has to start getting good, has to start getting better, and it has to start getting more frequent as far as releases that's concerned. A Hi-Fi Rush and some other smaller games that they produce is great, but they need high-profile, winning AAA games that are as good as the first party releases, like the Horizon, Zero Dawns, or the God of Wars, or the Spider-Mans of the world, that Sony keeps releasing. Forza is great, but Forza is a driving game. Yes, it
Right.
destroys GT, Gran Turismo, no problem, no question, no doubt. But the problem is that's such a smaller segment of the marketplace that doesn't really move enough units to make a huge difference in the marketplace. What they need is to be more frequent with more high profile, really, really good games. And it's going to have to start in 2024. That's why I think the amount of sold will be narrowed, but also Switch 2 should be announced sometime during next year.
Mm.
And also, if that's the case, we all know Nintendo Switch is just sitting there with well over 100 million units already sold. Nintendo Switch 2
Yeah.
that comes out, or a Switch Pro, or whatever they call it, that's going to probably eat into PlayStation's sales as well. But a PlayStation to Xbox 3-1 ratio, I'm going to probably say I don't see it. I say PlayStation will still win, but I think the gap will be narrowed in the US next year.
Do you think part of the problem for Xbox is just the aesthetic of the hardware itself?
Uh, the PlayStation 5 is not a great looker either. It looks like something out of the Jetsons personally, but then again, the Xbox Series X, which I just got,
Yeah.
looks like my subwoofer. So, that doesn't, they never
Right.
look great. These consoles never look like,
I don't
wow, look,
know, man. I have the PS4 Slim Pro, like the really thin one. It was just a sexy little machine to have sitting up there. It
all
didn't take
right,
up too much space. It was just nice.
all right, but the 360 looked good when I was able to go ahead and slap a new faceplate, customize it,
Right.
with
Yeah, all
with
of
some,
that
yeah,
stuff.
that all that
Yeah.
stuff. Now that is something that they need to do. A wrap around my Xbox Series X isn't going to cut it. You need to
Right.
actually fully be able to customize, and then same thing with the PlayStation 5. You need to be able to really do, and I think you can to some extent, but it's not
Yeah.
truly what it was like back in the day with the Xbox 360, where you could really customize it and turn it
Hmm.
into something much more grand than it already was. But we'll see. Let's see, my friend. I think that gap will narrow, but I think PlayStation still has the edge come 2024, but we'll see. but it is the PlayStation outselling the Xbox in the US for 2023 by a 3-to-1 margin. I will have more on this to talk about and more to rant about on the Xbox end because I've got a lot to say about Xbox and how they blew an opportunity this Christmas
Yeah.
to really put an indent into that marketplace. I really have a lot to say about that, and I'll go ahead and say it with Josh. But if you have thoughts on PlayStation outselling Xbox, you can go ahead and at me because I deserve it. I've been praising the Xbox as far as a better value, more powerful on the Xbox Series X, better value on the Xbox Series S, and Games Pass is a much better value than anything PlayStation puts out there as far as a monthly value for consumers. But consumers don't want that. They just want the more expensive, more I guess elaborate first party opportunity telling great stories, and I will give them
Right.
credit for that. So your
Hmm.
thoughts out there on PlayStation outselling Xbox 3-to-1 in 2023, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and save this, not the best for last per se, but save something very interesting for last, and that is a possible merger between Warner Brothers and Paramount. Not to mention Paramount wanting to sell their BET possibly to media mogul Byron Allen. And I am old enough to tell you that I did see Byron Allen. I have vague memories of as a kid of seeing Byron Allen on Real People. So that tells you how far back I go as far as that's concerned, which was a really weird show in and of itself. But more power to him and congratulations to him if he can buy BET for a reported 600 million. I think is what's being offered at this point
It's
in
a
time. But
steal for a TV network, isn't it? 600 million?
something like that. Absolutely,
Eh,
if that's the case, more power to him on that. And congratulations, he's become a media mogul, and all respect to him because he's been able to go ahead and do this and put a lot of hard work in to go ahead and create a media empire for himself. So I hope he gets able, if that's what he wants, I hope he's able to do it because I think it's in really good hands if it is. But the other part of parts of Paramount has been rumored to be merging possibly with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is a little bit, I mean, when you look at it, Paramount has CBS and Viacom and all that under their umbrella, and MTV and Nickelodeon, all that. Warner Brothers has the TBS, TNT. They have Discovery and the Max channel, and then Paramount Plus on the other side around there. So I ask you, my friend, how interesting, before we get into the IPs on a
yes.
possible merger, because I
Yeah.
know where you will go first when we talk the IPs for these companies. What do you think about the overall possibility of a merger and how would that change the landscape of the entertainment world going forward?
I mean, I don't really have the intricacies of all of the studios and all of that stuff, kind of living in my brain all the time. But this to me seems like a pretty serious merger. Like,
Mhm.
wasn't there a time in history, a period of history where Warner Brothers and Paramount were like absolutely dead scent, like dislike for each other?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah,
Well, they all disliked each other at some point in time, but yeah, you're
sure.
right.
But I feel like these two have
I think
particularly.
Netflix has changed all that.
Yeah, you know what? That's entirely possible. Maybe it's just the new kid that everybody can dislike in class. I don't know. But I just feel like this is a pretty significant. If you want to go back and look at the history of these two studios, the idea that now in 2023, we're talking about the two of them becoming one, it's wild to me.
It is wild to me as well. But let me ask you this: do you think it's going to get done? Because this is a lot of entities all coming together under one roof. Shortly after Warner Brothers tried to put everything else it had under one roof. Do you think this will actually eventually come together? Because it's going to be messy. It's going to take a while. Even when it's finalized, I bet you something like with Xbox and Activision, it'll
Yeah.
probably go to a court case. Somebody won't like it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, my friend, on this? Will if it actually will come to fruition?
I can't imagine how complicated this would be. Because you're talking about the talent of the talent of the talent when it comes to these high-end executives that are working at both of these companies.
Yeah.
And when any merger like this happens, some people just got to go, just basically on the numbers alone. So that in itself is pretty shocking. And yeah, no, it's just wild. I can't imagine how complicated that's going to have to be in order to get that all sorted out. My goodness.
So I ask you, my friend,
Yeah.
are you excited about the possibility? Let's say they do greenlight it, just
Yeah.
on this chance that they do.
Okay. Okay.
What are your thoughts? Do you think it would be something that's good for you as a consumer to go ahead and do that? Because we're going to get into the IPs here in a second, which is the actual real part of this equation.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The channels and the networks, yes. I mean, that's obviously the biggest of them all, but the IPs are
right.
the biggest thing as far as for us, as far as talking points are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, does this mean that maybe we'll finally get some fresh blood in the room and we'll finally get some good Star Trek movies? Maybe. Maybe. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe somebody will see that, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is good enough to be on network television and not just lobbed off to a streaming service that nobody is paying attention to.
I mean, they tried to do it here recently during the strike, but that was like from season 1. So
Yeah. And not only that, but it was during the summer, and
Yeah.
it was if you weren't paying attention, then you just you weren't even aware that it was happening. Like I didn't see any big splashy campaign about, check out the new start. I didn't see any of that kind of stuff around it.
No, it was just from season 1. They didn't put, if they didn't, they do what they always did with Star Trek. They always put past episodes on there and try to pass it off as new.
Yeah, and that's all great, but I just think that I just feel like Star Trek has been mistreated for so long that I'm excited by the idea of fresh eyes from Warner Brothers walking into a room and going, "What have you done to this poor IP? And how about we just go ahead and build on what you guys have managed to succeed at, and let's get some of these people into some movie theaters, because we're due for a really good Star Trek movie, and I think that the cast of Strange New Worlds might be able to pull it off."
We'll see, my friend. It is, of course, again, Warner Brothers and Paramount possibly merging together, but let's look at it from the Warner Brothers side. It has, of course, everything from Adult Swim to TNT, TBS, all the stuff that goes on there. Of course, yours and my movie pick preview when we do our predictions coming up. Dune Part 2 is something obviously we're looking at. They're part of the Warner Brothers regime. Warner Brothers has been leasing some of its films over to Netflix to gain some extra point of view, extra profit, extra eyes, things of that nature. Interesting, because they are the smaller entity with Max, and of course Paramount Plus is even smaller. Both of them combined, I think it probably would be around 150, 160 million viewers if they combine together on this deal as far as their streaming services are concerned. So if that's the case, I think that it would still not be enough to put a big enough dent into what we're seeing with Netflix, but my God, it might be the best alternative out there if they merge together.
Yeah, and you could just call it Paramount Max. You don't have to worry about any of this plus business. I'm so tired of just Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. It seems like a cop out at this point. Paramount Max, I think, is very, very catchy. That's the name of the new app. Apparently, I'm going to go work for them. So
there you go. All right, congratulations.
I'll call you and give you the scoop all the time, buddy. Don't worry.
Sounds good. I can't wait. Can't wait to hear all the skinny.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but I do think that there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of room for all kinds of potential. And just on that streaming app alone opens up a whole can of worms that I don't think that we've even really kind of come to terms with. Just sitting here thinking about it for a second, I'm like, geez, yeah, there's a lot. And it's just nonstop once it starts rolling, I think.
I will tell you though, my friend, I am looking forward to seeing if that's possibility. That they will come together. I would like to see it. In fact, it's because if this, I'm not, how should I say? I understand the monopolization laws in both the UK, Europe, and pretty much worldwide, especially here in the US, really apprehensive. We just went through the Activision Xbox, which again, with all the acquisitions that Sony's made, you cannot call that a monopoly, especially right now in the video game industry with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo all selling. Cannot say that there's a monopoly there. In the world of television, My gosh, all you have to do is flip to a TV guide, as I use the old vernacular, flip to a TV
Mhm.
guide and see all the different channels and stations and understand it can't really be a monopoly. It will be a larger entity, but with Netflix still having 250 million viewers, subscribers, yeah, you can't, and Disney having its own end, and Fox having its own end, and all the other networks having another superpower out there, and Comcast Universal and all that. I
Mhm.
don't think it's so bad. I don't think we're at the point yet where it should be concerned about a monopoly, because I think it's just these two medium to upper level net or conglomerates
Yeah.
combining together to make a bigger conglomerate to compete more adequately against these other top flight experiences that are out there.
Yeah, it's pooling resources together. It's ensuring that the best people are in the best positions in order to make sure that the best work is being done. So yeah, I only see positives coming out of this once the dust settles, because I think it's going to be messy.
I'll tell you what, though, it is something I'm definitely going to see here coming up very soon. With that, if it's going to be something that's going to go through, we'll report it right here on the Pop Culture
Yeah.
Cosmos. Absolutely, definitely looking forward to it. But it is, of course, Warner Brothers and Paramount possibly coming together on a merger. We'll see if they could do come together on a merger. Definitely looking forward to seeing if that's the case, and we'll go ahead and report it one way or the other. But I like the idea of it. I think it's going to help. And in Melinda's case, as far as her affinity for Star Trek, I think anything at this point can't be a bad thing to try and boost that IP to a larger, younger audience, which I think is the key going forward for Star Trek.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So, what are your thoughts out there on this possible merger between Warner Brothers and Paramount? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but any last holiday thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Holiday thoughts? My goodness. Yeah, no, I just hope that you people who are listening, I hope that you find time to spend it with, the people that you enjoy the most in life, whether that's your family or if it's your found family, either way. You just have a incredible couple of days off, and we look forward to bringing you more of the best of pop culture through 2024.
That we do, my friend. That we do. So, for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. We thank you so much for watching and listening all year round, but also as well in this busy holiday season as well. But we thank you so much for watching and listening. It is truly a great pleasure to serve you. And please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to everything that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, it's me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday. Thank you.